Cardinals. How are you? It's Mrs. Clare again. I'm here to read another chapter, chapter 10 of the Sloppy Copy Slip-Up, and I hope you enjoy it. This is chapter 10, The Outstanding and Exuberant Brian Higman. And as always, I'll make sure to show you the pictures, okay? I walked home from school in a fog. The sloppy copy was done. That was a load off my mind. But I still had the weight of the missing money on my brain. When I finally arrived home from school, I opened the door to find everyone waiting for me in the living room for the family meeting. My mother was sitting on her piano bench with Stevie and Patches nearby. Stevie was wearing only one hat this afternoon. It was the sailor hat. He was also wearing a pair of blue mittens with one of my mother's aprons tied around his neck like a cape. Pop and Denny were sitting on the couch alongside Harry Harrington and Darlene and Cynthia, Harry's two beautiful sisters. "What's going on?" I asked. I dumped my backpack on the rug. Stevie held out his arms like a game show host. "How wow," Stevie said. He crawled on his hands and knees with his mittens. "Rough, rough," Stevie panted and sniffed around. Patches wagged his tail. "When does this end?" I asked my mother. Stevie kept barking and acting like a dog. He shook his head, he licked at the air, he pretended to dig for a bone under the rug. "Ta-da!" said Stevie as he clapped his mittens and pulled out the missing sock. "My sock!" I said. "I can't believe it!" I pulled it away and Patches jumped up. He tried to wrestle the sock from my hand. "He's the robber!" Stevie yelled, pointing a mitten at Patches. Then Stevie took a so-called flying leap off two pillows and yanked the sock from his paws. So that was it? The mystery was solved? I took my seat at the family meeting and listened to the story from Stevie. It seemed that today, while I was in class, Stevie had gone into the backyard to look for worms. Spying on worms is one of Stevie's so-called science experiments. While he was carefully laying the slimy serpents back into the dirt, he noticed Patches sniffing around near Pop's garage. That was not unusual. Patches is a big sniffer. But when Patches began to dig something up, guess what it was? You guessed it, my sock. Patches had buried it and Stevie had caught him returning to the scene of the crime. And here's a picture of Stevie wrestling it back from Patches. Well, I never would have suspected that a dog could be a robber. I'm not even sure if you can call a dog a robber. All I know is that Patches was the only one who took it. Patches was the first one down the back kitchen steps the morning I left with Pop to buy me a guitar. He must have smelled my sock, liked it, chewed it around, then decided to keep it for himself. What a dog! The next morning, I couldn't wait to get to school. I placed my peanut butter jar, complete with my money and sock, on top of my desk where I knew it would be safe. Stevie would watch it for me. I finished my cereal and put my bowl inside the dishwasher. I checked my backpack to make sure that I had all my homework. My mother checked my forehead. Stevie and Patches came shuffling down the stairs. "Bye, Brian," Stevie said. I gave him a little wave. "See you later, Flo," I said to my mother as I whistled out the door. Did I happen to mention that Anna Newberg was no longer my ex-best friend? I walked right up to her in the schoolyard this morning and said, "Anna, today I'm going to buy my guitar." "Fact number 1, I said. "We think you'd make an outstanding bass player." "Fact number 2, "We want to start a band with gumption." "Fact number 3. Fact number 3? The gumption threw me off. "Big Hig doesn't mess around with the facts," Robbie told her. "We're calling ourselves the Pit," said Josh, "since we'll be practicing in Big Hig's basement." Anna rubbed the tips of her fingers. I'll bet she had calluses just like mine. "Okay," said Anna, "I'll be in the band, but I'm not quitting cello, and Nadine is still my friend." Nadine Ali shook the charms on her bracelet. "Maybe I can play tambourine," she asked. My life was beginning to take a new turn. I had an idea for a letter I would write to the Franklin. And here's a picture of him in the schoolyard with all his friends around him. And here's his newsletter to the Franklin. Remember, the Franklin is the newspaper he wants to write when he gets older. "Dear Franklin Newsletter, as a neighborhood reader, I would like to compliment you on your creative paper, the Franklin Newsletter. Someday, when I finally take over and write my head off, I will tell you how it saved my life. It has been a pleasure doing business with you. Yours truly, Brian Higman." Mr. Zifferman was happy to see me. I was happy to see him. It was my turn to be the loudspeaker announcer. I told him the rest of my story and then took a seat next to Mrs. Confrontini. When the Pledge of Allegiance was over, Mr. Zifferman handed me a piece of paper. "All set?" he asked. "All set," I said. The loudspeaker crackled. "The word of the day is exuberant," I read, making sure that I did not hold my mouth too close to the microphone. exuberant. It is an adjective that means enthusiastic or lively. Today there will be no exuberant fire drills, I said. We will be having exuberant chicken nuggets and an exuberant recess outside with the exuberant Mrs. Wagner after lunch. Mrs. Confrontini turned off the switch. "By the way," she said, "I'm glad that everything worked out with you and your missing sock. That story you were telling Mr. Zifferman sounded quite exuberant." I was just about to tell Mrs. Confrontini that it was not a story, but then I realized it really was. "It's historical nonfiction," I said. In the classroom, Miss Fromm handed back the sloppy copies from yesterday, including mine. Of course, there was a mess of suggestions and corrections, but I, Big Hig, did not really mind. I planned on keeping my 5 senses ready and alert for action. Sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. My pad and pencil were in my top pocket. A true writer is always prepared to write. That was my new motto. Okay, that's the end of chapter 10, and we will see what happens in chapter 11 next time. Thanks, guys. Bye.